What will it take for ASU football to keep up with one of the toughest opponents they will see all season? What's new with Sun Devil men's golf as they compete in their first tournament of the year? And how does Andi Kreiling feel about ASU volleyball in an exclusive interview here on CSL? All that and more here on Cronkite Sports Live. Hello, everyone, and welcome into Phoenix, Arizona for another episode of Cronkite Sports Live. She's Sammy Miller. I'm Matt Venezia. Sammy, this is the first time you and I are sharing the desk together, and I'm very excited, to say the least.
Matt, I'm so excited. Usually we're at Desert Financial in the booth, but today it's Studio 6 at Cronkite. Another thing I'm very excited for are the Sun Devils taking on number 11 Oklahoma State tomorrow. And even though they're viewed as the underdogs, it's going to be interesting to see what they can get done.
Well, Sammy, it's going to be interesting because the Sun Devils coming into this contest, I know it was NAU last week, but Emory Jones, a new guy under center, threw for 160 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. The Devils ran for 4 in total. You have to sort of like what they did last week and what they can bring into Stillwater tomorrow. Obviously, in this David and Goliath situation, it will be very challenging for ASU to leave Stillwater with a win. Speaking of Stillwater, our very own Nick Borgia just landed in OKC not too long ago, and he's got an update for us. Nick, take it away.
Yeah, Matt, I just arrived here in Oklahoma City, currently in the process of getting a rental car, but I can tell you one thing first, it is hot. Currently 91 degrees here in Oklahoma City, supposed to be 90 in Stillwater for kickoff tomorrow, but the heat, nothing new for the Sun Devils. They are used to the heat in the atmosphere, but how about the hostility? That might be a question to be answered. We saw the Sun Devils struggle last season in environments like Provo or Salt Lake City, where they committed a lot of penalties and mental mistakes to ultimately lose games. Something to do with the state of Utah, but in terms of the game day atmosphere here, you can expect similar things. Oklahoma State fans go pretty crazy, and it's going to be loud. The paddle people do not mess around. So the question is, Matt, can ASU overcome that challenge that weighed them down so greatly last season? Well, kickoff is just about 24 hours away, so we'll have to wait till then to find out. Matt?
Thanks so much for that, Nick. Yeah, try and stay safe out there in the wild, wild west with all those Cowboys roaming around there in Stillwater.
Nick, we'll definitely be watching out for you on the sidelines. And Matt, for the 4th straight year, ASU's first road game of the season will take place at a ranked opponent. And under Herm Edwards, ASU is 3-1 in Power 5 non-conference games.
Sammy, we see what happened in those matchups there on the screen, but it's important to note that the matchups against Michigan State, one of them in Tempe, the other one in East Lansing, different environments having a team be the home team. But in those bowl matchups with Florida State in the Sun Bowl and then Wisconsin a year ago at Allegiant Stadium, it's a neutral site. So this atmosphere in Stillwater is going to be a lot different, and it'll be interesting to see what the Devils do.
Yeah, Matt, and Herm Edwards realizes this game introduces a completely different environment to his team than last week. Here's what he expects from the group.
That we keep our composure. In an environment where it's going to be really loud and it's on the road and all those things. How do we handle that now? Did a pretty good job here. It was, what, 3-0? And I looked at them and I was good. I looked at them and I said, they're in a good place.
Coach Edwards clearly understands that the environment in Stillwater will be a challenge and something ASU cannot take lightly. ASU also can't take the number 11 team in the country lightly, who, by the way, was last year's runner-up in the Big 12. With more on what to expect from the Cowboys, here's our own Peyton Galler.
The Pokes' 2021 defense was chock-filled with bad hombres. Oklahoma State were often quick to the draw when it came to dialing up pressure, leading the nation in sacks a year ago. The Cowboys gave no quarter on the ground either, putting up a historic run defense while regularly rotating as many as 14 different players on the D-line. In 2022, that defensive front is back in full, with a combined 23 years of college football experience parceled amongst the starting 4. With military-like gap discipline and the ability to occupy blocks at an elite level, OSU's defensive line prevent opposing offensive linemen from working up to the second level of the defense. and allows the Cowboys linebackers to flow to the football often untouched. You can see it in motion on this 4th down stop. Where Mike Gundy's team is vulnerable is the back 7, where Oklahoma State only brings back one player that has started in more than one career game. In the team's season opener against Central Michigan last Thursday, this led to multiple coverage busts and big plays. OSU surrendered 44 points in the game, more than they did in any contest a year ago. On the other side of the ball, the Pokes have a completely new look on offense. QB Spencer Sanders was firing from the hip throughout the game, picking the opposing defense apart from clean pockets. What was so good about Sanders was his willingness to take the cheese. Sanders showed a mature and calculated approach, not hesitating to spray the ball to wideouts on quick route concepts and allow them to make a big play after the catch. That said, for as often as Sanders took what was given, he took what wasn't just as much. Check this out. On this 3rd down, CMU zones up and spies Sanders with a backer. Sanders, who quickly realizes he won't have time to wait for a receiver to find a hole in the zone, drifts out of the pocket, angles by the defensive end, and gets the edge for a 1st down. This is the type of play that's going to drive this ASU staff crazy, as oftentimes they'll have a perfect play call on and just not be able to get Sanders on the ground. All told, Oklahoma State have a barbed wire defense, plenty of explosive playmakers on offense, and a quarterback that can take you apart even when you play well. Saturday in Stillwater looks like it's going to be a stiff test for Herm Edwards and his Sun Devils. For Cronkite Sports, I'm Peyton Gallagher.
Thank you for your detailed analysis, Peyton. Arizona State will definitely have their hands full tomorrow. So let's talk about what they will need to do in order for the Sun Devils to complete the upset. We now bring in WCSN football reporter Kevin Malater to discuss tomorrow's big game. Kevin, Oklahoma State's strong offense, that's inevitable. But what will the Sun Devils defense need to do in order to try to stop the possible bleeding?
Yeah, inevitable is the perfect description for this Oklahoma State offense because they play in the Big 12 and points are always going to be a factor. So the biggest thing for Arizona State is contain the pass and contain Spencer Sanders and make sure he stays in the pocket. This Oklahoma State team changed their approach and became much more pass first and pass focused. 18 of their first 22 plays against the Chippewas of Central Michigan were passing plays. So the key thing is keep him in the pocket because when you're able to keep him in the pocket, he becomes much more of a traditional pocket passer, which means he's more vulnerable in interceptions as well as strip sacks on the backside due to his long, elongated windup. If Arizona State's able to keep him in the pocket, their defense could contain him, which is a good sign for Herm Edwards' side.
Now shifting our focus to the offensive side of the ball, what do you think the Sun Devils will need to do to really stay in the game?
I think they got to match the tempo of Oklahoma State. Now, there's a lot of theories out there about what they should do in terms of trying to establish the run. I know Herm Edwards has been very adamant about that all week in practice, but Oklahoma State's got one of the best run defenses in the entire country, especially with their front 4. The difference, though, their back 7, not the case. A lot of inexperience there. And when you have a quarterback like Emory Jones, who's experienced thrower from the SEC, let him take advantage of that inexperience, throw the ball downfield, let him get comfortable in early down situations. Arizona State's not going to win this game on the ground. They're going to have to do it in the air, which means Emory Jones is going to have to be the difference maker in this ball game.
Now, these Sun Devils, they're heading to Stillwater, Oklahoma. So let me tell you, it's going to be a rowdy crowd. How do you think these Sun Devils will be able to handle that type of environment?
I think the key thing is discipline for this team in terms of not making the bad penalty or the dumb mistake. Last season in the 2 biggest games, penalties killed ASU, plain and simple. In those 2 games against Utah and BYU, which were the 2 biggest road games, they gave up 10-plus penalties for over 100-plus penalty yardage. It's just something that Herm Edwards' squad cannot allow. It's such a difficult environment to go into, so they have to keep their composure. And the other thing is, besides penalties, going with a killer mindset. You're a team that's unranked, a very heavy underdog going into this game. Go in there with the mindset of, hey, we're here to take something away from them. And if you have an opportunity to put away Oklahoma State, do it, because these Cowboys can score. They can score quickly, so if you have an opportunity to bury them, do it then.
Well, thank you so much for Kevin for coming in, sharing your great insight. And we're going to move on to another hot topic with ASU football. Who's in? Who's out? We have some updates on a few key injuries. Here's WCSN football reporter Jack Pearson with our newest segment, In and Out.
Who doesn't love some good in and out? Well, if you're ASU football, you like the in a lot more than the out. Defensive end Michael Matus and offensive lineman Joey Ramos will both be sidelined for the year after suffering major injuries. But how about who's in? Let's take a look at those who did not compete last week. Defensive backs Tamarcus Davis and Jordan Clark, along with offensive lineman Des Holmes, were all spotted in the drive-through line to practice this week. Davis is ready to go for Saturday, and the senior will likely make an impact as he should start for the Sun Devils. Clark is currently a game-time decision, but is an experienced piece that ASU can utilize in the secondary. On the offensive side of the ball, Des Holmes will likely start at right tackle as he was supposed to last week before his undisclosed injury. We will see if ASU breaks out any secret menu items against Oklahoma State on Saturday. Players returning into the lineup may help the Sun Devils get out of Stillwater with the victory. This has been Jack Pearson reporting.
Thanks, Jack, for the report. A very creative one, I might add. I see what you did there with the whole in and out thing. On a more serious note regarding players ASU won't have available in Stillwater, the Sun Devils saw a record number of players leave the program this past season via the transfer portal. This offseason, here's how some of their debuts went, and our new segment here as we bring in Scott Sanduli.
As you may know, a lot of heat was taken out of the Valley in the transfer portal. Arizona State lost 4 key players over the summer, and those former Devils are raising hell in their new threads. With the tomahawk in his hand, 6'7" wide receiver Johnny Wilson has chopped up defenses in the Garnet and Gold. After a 51-yard catch in Week 0, the big fellow reeled in 3 catches for 60 yards in the Crescent City of New Orleans against LSU. In 2 games, Wilson has put together 2 of his best 3 career receiving yards performances at the college level and emerged as the frontline chief of the Florida State receiving corps. The guy who used to throw footballs to Wilson found himself on the opposite sideline last Sunday. Now LSU quarterback Jaden Daniels took to the stage and recited the riveting tale of 2 halves to a near-capacity crowd in the Superdome as the Tigers took on Florida State. The purple and gold section was less than pleased early by Daniels as the quarterback was caught holding the ball, hitting the turf, leaving his own team disappointed in the performance. However, the closing act brought the attention back with a dazzling 99-yard drive to bring the Tigers within 1 before Florida State delivered the final curtain call by blocking the game-tying extra point to end the game in a 1-point win. Another one of Daniels' former pass catchers reaped the rewards in the Sunshine State last weekend. Tricky Ricky Pearsall put on an impressive showing against a familiar opponent in Utah by pulling 4 catches out of his helmet for a team-leading 67 yards. Operating out of the slot, this Florida man served as the joker in the deck against the Utes and caught them off guard in the season's first major upset. Returning to the conference, linebacker Eric Gentry is basking in the Hollywood lights at USC rather than the desert sun. Riding his Trojan horse into the Coliseum, Gentry kept Rice's offense quiet on the set with 7 tackles and a sack in his debut. If this freshman All-American can step up as one of USC's defensive leaders, he could be the unit's biggest star. However, big stars on the ground have been known to serve as stepping stones for visitors and bathrooms for birds in the City of Angels. For Cronkite Sports, I'm Scott Sanduli.
Keeping it hot with the topic of newcomers, ASU men's golf is kicking off its season today at the Maui Gym Invitational in Scottsdale with a ton of new faces on the roster.
On a live update from the tournament, the Sun Devils currently hanging around 6th or 7th in the Maui Gym Invitational, so we'll keep our eyes peeled on that. But the Sun Devils are bringing into the staff former coach at Washington, Thomas Sutton, to his staff. A pretty decent hire, speaking that Sutton's Huskies won the Pac-12 last year. Freshman Luke Potter is coming in as well. He's expected to make an immediate impact after winning California Freshman Athlete of the Year. Sammy, the last golfer to win this same recognition was Tiger Woods.
That is certainly some good company, Matt. And Potter might be the one to continue the Sun Devils' 3-year streak of having the Pac-12 Freshman of the Year. This team also has some impressive returners like senior Riggs Johnson and sophomore Preston Summer Hayes. Adding newcomers to a roster that made a national championship appearance a year ago means the Sun Devils are primed for another strong season.
Coverage all weekend long from the Maui Gym Invitational can be found right here on Cronkite Sports. Now moving right along, Nicole Douglas's career day last week for Sun Devil soccer included 2 scores and a ticket to the history books for the ASU grad student. You're now going to have to wait for some action because ASU soccer's 2 matches this week were canceled due to COVID developments within the team. Sitting at 2 wins and 2 ties on the young season, this is now the 3rd match ASU has had canceled. Coach Winkworth and his team suddenly only have 2 matches left before conference play begins in 2 weeks. And now we're going to go and take a look and see the upcoming schedule for the Sun Devils, as right now they're getting ready for Grambling State at home. They will see Toledo, and then conference season gets underway, as we talked about, against Colorado, before coming home for their home opener within the conference schedule against Cal.
ASU volleyball is now 5-2 after beating Evansville in 3 straight sets this afternoon at the Baylor Invitational. The Sun Devils will have a quick turnaround as they face Colorado State tonight at 6 p.m. One player that has been essential to this team's success so far has been sophomore middle blocker Andi Kreiling, who was named fall preseason MVP by head coach Sonia Tomasevich. Our Jonah Krell sat down with Kreiling to learn more about her preparation for the season and the transition to her new position.
Here with another edition of Sun Devil Sit Down, this time with Andi Kreiling, sophomore middle blocker for the ASU women's volleyball team. Andi, thank you so much for taking the time with me today.
Hi, Jonah. Thank you for having me.
Of course. You can settle down. You can be more relaxed and casual.
All right.
So first of all, I know you're from Kearney, Missouri, which is right outside of Kansas City. So I gotta ask, just do you completely avoid the barbecue scene here? I mean, like how do you touch that? How does it compare to home? Like what's that like?
So Kansas City's like really known for barbecue, but all of my life I have never liked barbecue. So yeah, I've never touched barbecue here or in Kansas City because yeah, I'm not really that much of a fan of it.
So you're an outlaw, is what you're saying, in your own home state.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm kind of a disgrace to my family, but like, yeah, they still love me.
Okay, that's good. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of home, I know you at Kearney High School, you were a big swimmer. You broke several school records and you were a state champion. Did you ever seriously pursue swimming, or was it always volleyball for you?
So all of my life I had really wanted to go to college for volleyball, but after my senior year I was kind of like looking at it just like a little bit, but the entire time I was swimming, I was also just trying to stay in shape for volleyball because it had always been my one true love for my sports, and like I knew that I was good at swimming, but I do miss it dearly, but I just really, this is where my heart is.
I want to go back to last year because you were an outside hitter last season. I mean, that has to be a big adjustment for you because of illnesses and injuries on the team. You had to step into that role. What was that adjustment like for you in just your freshman season?
Yeah, so I played outside in high school, but that compared to here, like Kearney volleyball, we had a small class, like we were never really big on volleyball. And so like going from that and to college level outside was very crazy for me, very much of an adjustment. I had to learn how to play off blocker defense, serve, receive, like all things like so new to me. I had never ever done that before in my entire life. So it was a really big adjustment, but I feel like I got the hang of it, and then as soon as Sonia was like, all right, we're gonna have you back in your middle position, I was like, all right, like here we go, like now's the time. So that was super awesome.
You're talking about you've grown this year. During fall camp, you were named fall camp MVP by Sonia Tomasevich. Just what did you think you did during the offseason specifically to earn that honor and put yourself in the starting position that you are in now?
I feel like I really took the time off the court to really focus on, film and stuff like that, as well as like on the court. I felt like I have a purpose, I'm worthy of being here, and I really took that to heart. And I felt like everything just started clicking finally for me. And yeah, it's been super awesome to see like the setters trusting me more and like everything like that. It just feels like it's all coming together.
That's awesome. And now you have a big role. Andi, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing more highlight blocks and plays from you as the season goes on, all right?
Thank you so much. Of
course, and you can check out the Sun Devils in Waco this weekend, Baylor Invitational for another road trip. It feels like forever, right?
Yes.
All right, well, I'm Jonah Krell here with Andi Kreiling, here for another Sun Devils Sit Down.
Thanks, Jonah. Kreiling and the rest of the squad will head back to Texas after the Baylor Invitational, this time in Lubbock for the Red Raider Classic, where they will take on SMU, Texas Tech, and Oral Roberts for their last preseason matches of the year. ASU will then start off conference play with a Territorial Cup matchup against the Arizona Wildcats in Tucson, and then take a quick trip to Colorado to play the Buffaloes on September 25th.
Olympic sports may be safe for now in the conference of the Pac-12, but the Pac-12 has not received good news in recent months. Well, the news of the college football playoff expanding to 12 teams as soon as 2024 may just be what the Conference of Champions and many others needed to hear. In the first 8 years of the CFP, the 4-team playoff has seemed to always consist of the same couple of teams year in and year out. That shouldn't come as a surprise. Teams like Alabama and Georgia are always sitting at the table for a reason. But seriously, only 13 FBS schools are able to say that they've made it to the coveted playoff held at the end of each season. It's also worth noting that only Oregon and Washington have represented the Pac-12. The Ducks reached the title game in 2015, falling to Ohio State. Since, well, only one Pac-12 team has appeared in the last 7 playoffs. In the grand scheme of things, conferences like the Pac-12 and Big 12, who are hanging on for dear life, caught in the orbit of the mega conference black holes that are the Big 10 and the SEC, now have an increased chance of survival. The new format guarantees the 6 highest-seeded conference champions a spot in the playoff. The top 4 teams get a bye, and 5 through 12 battle it out in seeded matchups. UCLA and USC may have spoken too soon in wanting to join the Big 10. They'll be considered the front-runners to win the Pac year in and year out after this thing goes through, while also seeing this NIL situation continue to develop right in front of our eyes. The thing now that we should put into question is, other than media rights deals and financial motivations, is there really any other true reason for schools to transfer to what seems to be the Power 2 conferences? Surely we'll find out the answer to these questions in the not-so-distant future, and that's the way it is.
Well, that's all the time that we have for today, but the Sun Devils are playing all weekend long, so make sure to stay tuned for all of the action. For Matt Venezia, I'm Sammy Miller. Have a great weekend, everyone. We'll see you right back here next Friday.